if this moves forward today, the Bengals would have to agree to it, as well as then they got to give it to the NFL, and their shareholders get a vote on it. And my understanding is what's presented to us, the Bengals presented something different. In this lease, there are some items that I think are important but yet missing. And that's the taxpayers of Hamilton County. Originally, we wanted to do a 15-year minimum lease. We only have 11 years. Originally, we said we wanted to put 200 to 250 million, which would have allowed us to still have room for the taxpayers to be able to look on a case by case basis to get 30% on property taxes. And we heard earlier that it's such a big issue, property taxes, that the governor has to put a task force together to look at property taxes. But when we have a chance to do something right now on property taxes, this deal does not allow us, it takes away our capability of the 30%. I was told that we would never be able to do the 30% that was promised to the taxpayers over 30 years ago. Who knows? If they had known they would not get 30% property tax rebate, that's why they put it in there, it may have never passed. We may have never gotten two stadiums. In 1997, we approved a concept and slapped hands, and we were so excited. But when the people began to be unexcited was when they actually got into the main details. And when they got into details, they were so angry that they even voted a county commissioner out of office. That's how serious it was. And so we said this time we'd have a chance to try to right a wrong, to try to right a wrong. But in this deal, the taxpayers are not in it. They're not in it. They're out of it. We can't do 30%. And like I said, property taxes has to be one of the top issues if they got to put a task force together. But we don't have to go to the task force. We can do something right now by making sure that the promise is kept to the taxpayers who went to the polls. Now, in this piece, there are some areas that have to be highlighted. Number one, we have a resolution for a deal that's different than what the Bengals have presented. Number two, once it's passed, and if it's passed, then they got to send it to the NFL, and the NFL gets a chance to vote on it. So it's not something that's happening immediately. Number three, the state. We keep hearing a lot about the state of Ohio. And serving up there and on the finance committee, it was disappointing that everybody in the state didn't think it was important enough to write the Bengals in it. They had a chance to do it. The Speaker of the House had a chance to write in Cincinnati Bengals. He said no, but he wrote in the Cleveland Browns. The state legislators who voted on the budget, they had a chance to write in the Bengals. And if they had wrote it in, we might have been able to have some money left over so that we can make sure the taxpayers could be written in. But they said no. It went over to the Senate. The head of the Senate and the senators, they had a chance to write in the Bengals. They said no, but the Browns were written in. The governor had a chance to veto that line item. But he said no, he's going to sign it into law. So the Browns are in the budget guaranteed. You know, y'all hear about guaranteed contracts. That's what the players be fighting for. They want to guarantee. They're guaranteed in the state budget. Cincinnati Bengals are not guaranteed. Now they have a fund. They said after we take the $600 million, you all can come back and beg. And then guess what? It's called cultural and sports facilities. So that means everybody. It said museums, will be able to, we got some museums here that will be going up there. It says sports facilities, all sports. Ohio State would be able to go and try to get the money. You know how they feel about Ohio State getting some money. Um, every museum, every cultural facility, every theater will be able to get the money left over. They put us in the leftover, including us, but the Browns will have a guaranteed contract with the state of Ohio. That's interesting. Even though they said we went up there and we lobbied and all that, they said no. They said no. Now, let me just say that our job, and I want to thank all the lawyers, I want to thank the administrator, I want to thank everybody, because this was a tough deal to come out of. We were at 96% whole. It was hard to get out of this. But we're also dealing with a team that said they're not trying to let us out off the hook. We wanted 15, they wanted 10 or 11, they got 10 or 11. We wanted the Modell law that says that if you leave, it's a state law, it's one of the good things they did. If you leave, you take some public money, you can't leave. In this deal, we would be waiving and letting them leave. They can get out of here in 11 years. After we done put another $350 million plus interest. Plus interest. We're trying to take the responsibility off of us. We want to be indemnified. They said, no, we want the county to be on the hook. They would not allow that in this lease. So we fought for some things, but we didn't necessarily get all of them. No, we're not raising taxes, but guess what? The sales is going up because prices are going up. We get a percentage of the sales tax, so it's still going up. The price of eggs, the price of toilet paper, and all that going up, and we get a percentage. So as it goes higher, we get those dollars. It's getting rough out here for people. So then we had a lot of meetings, but before I go there, this lease also would expire in 11 years or 10 years. Do you know that the Reds lease will also expire in 10 years? Now, how tough it is right now for us to get this done. Can you imagine two teams saying they might walk? Two teams got two stadiums at the same time. I can't imagine negotiating two teams at the same time. And this puts us on the timetable of two teams, the Reds and the Bengals. Reds will be over here saying they got to get their share. Bengals will be over here, you better give us something else. My gosh, I can't even imagine looking at the hard work that our lawyers and administrators are up all night, 12 midnight. Can you imagine doing it times two? And can we afford to do it times two at the same time? So lastly, I would just say that this is super complicated. It's super complicated. And a lot of the discussions have happened behind the closed doors, which is what the taxpayers don't want. We just came from behind the closed doors. A lot of behind the closed, I mean, we had, you can come and talk for 2 minutes and all that. We had that. But all of the main big stuff was behind the closed doors. And so for me, I think this is too big for just 3 commissioners to be voting on. This is too complicated for just 3 commissioners to be voting on. It has too much implications. We've got risk, we've got financing, we've got future debt, we've got a timetable that overlaps 2 stadiums at one time. We decide that 30% that you were promised is automatically off the table. We got to find out, is this what the voters really want? And so I believe that as we went to the polls in 1996, we ain't been to the polls since 1996. And if the NFL they got to take it to the NFL and they get to vote. The Bengals can't just do it on their own. They have to go to the NFL voters, right? So why would we not take it to the taxpayers and the voters of Hamilton County who will be on the hook to pay for this? As you know, the last commissioners that did this ain't here no more. And then what we do, we not guaranteed if we gonna be around. Mr. Ludo, he might retire, might not be around. So this needs to go to the voters of Hamilton County. So I have a motion that I would like to submit today. A motion to place the proposed county bingo lease agreement on the ballot. It says, I move that a resolution be drafted and voted on to put the proposed new lease on the ballot so that every Hamilton County resident can vote on it. I further move that the full 30% property tax rebate originally promised to taxpayers in 1996 be explicitly included in the lease language for voter consideration. I'd like to know, what do the voters say? And I'd like to submit this today, and I would call for a vote on the motion on behalf of the taxpayers. Do we have a second on the motion for the taxpayers? I'd like to submit this for the record of the clerk.